Hello everyone, thanks for joining us for another edition of Texas Insider TV. I'm Jim Cardle. The recent Middle East unrest and deaths in Libya, amongst other places, the polling numbers that many analysts are calling into question, as well as unemployment. We're joined today by GOP USA President and CEO, Dr. Bobby Eberle. Bobby, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Jim. It's good to be here.
You've been with us a number of times talking about unemployment. I want to get into that in a minute, but
Okay.
Foremost on a lot of folks' minds, and you wrote an article recently entitled, "Why is the President Lying About Libya?" Certainly the Middle East unrest, huge issue.
Right.
Tell us about what you wrote in your article, and let's get into some of the details of what the administration did know or maybe didn't know.
Sure, and it's just really fascinating because here we are in an election cycle where everybody thought it was going to be about the economy, which we're going to talk about later, and now we have this huge foreign policy tragedy and blunder that's right at Obama's feet. And the focus of my column yesterday was that I asked a simple question: why is he lying about Libya? Because intelligence sources now are coming forward and saying almost immediately after the attacks in Benghazi, the administration knew it was planned, it was coordinated, it was a terrorist attack. They know the organization, and yet for nearly 2 weeks, the Obama administration went with the same storyline of this was a spontaneous uprising of people that just were whipped up into a frenzy because of the internet video.
You're talking about how they addressed it and what they said it was caused by for 2 weeks after
Exactly.
it happened, when they actually knew. Okay, so we'll get to the video in a second, but you're saying it was a planned attack. We have intelligence sources over there. They gathered intelligence, and we knew about it ahead of time.
Right. And this was the big breaking news, and yet during those 2 weeks, Obama said it was a spontaneous reaction to an internet video. His White House press secretary, Jay Carney, said the same thing. Hillary Clinton said the same thing. And then, the Sunday following the attacks, Obama put his UN ambassador, Susan Rice, on all the Sunday talk shows. She said the same thing over and over and over again. And now we know that it was simply a lie, because they knew that it was a terrorist attack, and yet they tell the American people that it was due to some anti-Islamic video. And so why are they doing that? That's the question. Why are they telling us this story?
And many analysts will tell you, I've certainly read it a place or two, that most Muslims or the protesters over there, they have not seen the video, they don't even know about the video. But let me ask you this pointedly: so if we knew about it ahead of time,
Right.
why was nothing done?
Well, and that's the thing, is that not only are we learning now that Obama knew the attack was a terrorist attack, but sources within the State Department, a recent news story showed, they knew that an attack was coming. They had warning that there was danger surrounding Chris Stevens in the Libyan consulate days in advance, and they did nothing to protect him. They did nothing to fortify the facility. And I think that's why Obama is lying, because to have that intelligence, to know what needed to be done, and to not do anything about it is just a dereliction of duty. I mean,
so it's best you deflect it and blame it on a video.
Exactly.
Okay, and then if I can, so we don't talk all show about Libya in the Middle East, which we could do. Let me jump. You've been on our show before talking about the unemployment numbers and the economic situation. We had an article a couple days ago in Texas Insider, highlighted some information by Senator Phil Gramm, in which he says that incomes of the average American during the recovery have been worse than they actually were during the recession.
Right.
Talk about some of the economic news
Yeah,
you're seeing.
that was an outstanding article, and it's just kind of funny because it's like people long for the good old Bush recession days because the Obama recovery is just terrible. And what Phil Gramm pointed out, he pointed out some really interesting facts that show not only how bad things are during Obama, but the difference in approaches that different presidents have taken. He pointed out that since World War II, there's only been 2 times in American history that the unemployment number has hit 10%.
Okay.
It's 1982 with Ronald Reagan and 2009 with Obama.
Okay.
And now, and what he also pointed out was that during the 55 months following that Reagan recession that started back in 1981, 55 months into it, or following it, 8 million new jobs were created. There were 8 million more jobs than when the recession started.
Because of tax cuts and
right.
jump-starting the economy versus
exactly, because of
growing the
Reagan's
government
approach. He wanted to cut regulation, cut taxes, get the economy stimulated that way, and guess what? It worked. 55 months following this recession, Obama's numbers are 4 million fewer jobs than when the recession started, and all he does is want to do the same thing. And the Bush tax cuts, which essentially is a tax increase across the board, and rely more on government. Debt, 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 debt. And we see that it's not working. We have fewer jobs now than when the recession started, and yet Obama sings the same song every time.
And that's before we get into any of the specific analysis about all the stimulus, its effectiveness or not. Let me ask you this. Is there anything, we've supposedly had millions of quote-unquote shovel-ready jobs.
Right.
Is that in fact an accurate expectation?
It's not working. I mean, this last quarter, the economy was only expected to grow 1.7%, which is pathetic growth as it is.
Okay.
Well, now when we look at the numbers, it was only 1.2%. So this billions of, nearly $1 trillion of stimulus money has not produced anything in as far as a form of return on our investment. And it just shows that big government policies do not work. We need to free up the money, free up the jobs, and free up the economy so that people who hire can hire, and people who work can work, and then the treasury will be replenished because guess what? More people are working. But if you rely on government rather than the individual, you're going to get Obama's recovery, which is way worse than Bush's recession.
It's just not working. Again, folks, we're visiting today with GOP USA President Bobby Eberle. Appreciate you coming by. Bobby,
sure.
One final question if I can, and that is with this polling information, the last couple of weeks there seems to be a lot of analysis, but certainly an increase in those who are saying the numbers are skewed. I'm not sure I'm buying it necessarily yet, but what can you tell us about whether or not it's indicative of where things are right now?
Well, you know, this is a case where the challenger, Mitt Romney, is not being blown out and just saying, hey, don't listen to the polls right now. These are tough races all around the country. Always are. And what people need to do, one thing, is not, first and foremost, don't really pay attention to anything that's a national poll, because this is a state-by-state race, and it's going to come down to those states that Obama, that were traditionally Republican, that went for Obama in 2008, that I don't think are going to go for him in 2012.
That's the big question, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's about a handful or 6 or 7 swing states.
Exactly. You've got Florida, you've got Virginia, you've got Ohio, North Carolina. These states, again, that went Obama's way, Indiana even, in 2008. And in some of these recent polls that came out, they show Obama leading in a number of those states. But upon digging deeper into the numbers, you see that the Democrats were significantly oversampled in them. So they're just adding Democrats to the totals. And part of that, they do some methodology to balance out the polls, but the percentage of Democrats added is way above normal. And when you take that out, you have Romney actually leading in some of these polls, even above the margin of error. So people should not get discouraged by this, because the media is going out of its way to portray Obama as leading and this is a done deal, when Romney is running a solid campaign on pro-growth, lower taxes, and it's what the economy needs, it's what America needs. And so people just have to trust that those states are going to fall this way, and don't believe these polls right now, because of any time that I've been watching news, this is the most slanted, the most biased the media has been in an effort to get Obama reelected.
We'll have to have you back. We're going to keep watching
Absolutely.
those polls. Certainly it doesn't look like the economy is going to be getting much better, so that will continue to be an issue. Thanks for coming in.
Sure thing, absolutely.
Folks, appreciate you joining us for another issue of Texas Insider TV with Bobby Eberle from GOPUSA.com. Be sure and tune back in, because remember, you're either an insider or you're not. I'm Jim Cardle. Thanks for joining us.
We did it. We got